Hey there, and welcome to another video talking about Azure Service Bus. Today I'm going to be talking about how do we send scheduled messages, which are messages that we can send to Service Bus, but for delivery at a future date. And we're going to look at how we do that with queues, and then how we do that with topics and subscriptions, and maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges with doing that. So we can dive into Visual Studio, and I'll start showing you the code for how we can send scheduled messages. Okay, so we're in Visual Studio now, and I set up a couple of things to get us started. So I've got the connection string to Service Bus, a name of a queue, and a topic and a subscription that we'll use for these demos. Creating a Service Bus client with that connection string. I've set up a processor. This time, to begin with, it's on the queue. Set up a process, the process message event handler, the error event handler, started processing, created a sender, so we're ready to send a message. And then just down here at the bottom, you'll see that I've got the process message async and the process error async. We just write out to the console the time we received the message, the body, and then the in-queue time as well. And so what we'll do here, just below where we create our sender, is I will make a Service Bus message. Call it message equals new Service Bus message. With a body, I'm making a template string, new message created at, and then I'll put in date time dot now dot time of day, so we can see when it was made. And then with the sender, we do sender dot schedule message async, and that's kind of like sending. We pass in the message, but we also have to pass in when do we want the message to be queued, and that's a date time offset. So I'll do date time offset dot now dot time of dot now dot add seconds. You'll probably in a business application, you'll have a reason for scheduling a message. I'll probably give you the time you want it to be sent, but for right now, I'm going to schedule this to be just 10 seconds in the future. I need to await that because that's an async method, but it actually returns a long, which is the sequence number of the message. I'm going to capture that as well. And then just here, I'll write console, right line, scheduled a message with sequence number, and I'll put the sequence number in I'll put as well. And so if I run that demo right now, we should see scheduled message sequence number 1. So for our connection, it's our first message. And if I refresh it in here, we'll see that I've got one scheduled message waiting on my topic. If I keep hitting refresh, that's now disappeared. It's because our application received it. So we scheduled the message with sequence number 1, and then it was received a little bit after the time that we actually sent it. What you'll notice here is that the in-queue time, this is in UTC over here, so it's 4 hours ahead of my local time, which is East Coast US. The in-queue time and the receive time are about the same amount of time. There's a little bit of clock drift between my computer and Service Bus, but the in-queue time shows the time I kind of scheduled it to kind of appear in the queue. So that's how you send a scheduled message to a queue. It's relatively simple. The reason why we want to get the sequence number back at this point is what we can do, I'll do it after I've hit return on the console right line, is I can also ask the sender to cancel that scheduled message, and I need that sequence number in order to do that. So if you want to be able to cancel messages that you've scheduled, you're going to need to keep that sequence number, store that in your database or your application state somewhere, and keep hold of it, because you won't be able to cancel a message without it. And so what I'll do is I'll ask that to be cancelled, and then I will say console write line, cancellation requested. And the reason why I'm saying cancellation requested here, if you call this method after it's been delivered, it'll throw you an exception saying like that, I don't have that message scheduled. If you do it before it's been delivered, you may get a positive return from that message, in that it will attempt to cancel that message, but if you're close to the line, if you're close to the actual in-queue time, it may still get in-queued. And we're only doing 10-second demos here, so it's kind of likely that we're going to see that message will probably still get delivered, but we'll give it a try anyway, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't in such a short timeline. So I hit it, it was 3, I hit cancel, cancellation requested. If we wait 10 seconds, we'll see whether it comes in. I cancelled it pretty quick, but we still got the message come in. When you get that behavior, I'll point out there is a bug in the Service Bus kind of reporting that it will now say -1 scheduled messages. I think this is because it reduces that number when you cancel the message and it accepts the request to cancel. It also reduces that number when it delivers the scheduled message. And so we've now ended up with -1 messages and scheduled messages. This is a service bus bug, which I've reported, and they're working on getting fixed in terms of reporting that number. But it's happening because I'm sending the message and then instantly, like for a very short time in the future, and then trying to cancel it. That appears to be when it happens. If you send something a little bit further into the future, the cancellation typically works. So if I change this offset to be kind of 30 seconds or above, I haven't seen that behavior or something that was more than 30 seconds away from being delivered. And it seems unlikely that you would in your application be trying to schedule messages for just a few seconds in the future and also be trying to cancel them. That's probably not a good, if that's actually part of your design to do that, you probably want to kind of rethink that design a little bit. So it's relatively simple in terms of doing it with queues. You make the queue sender, you schedule the message, and then you get a log the sequence number back for that message. And if you want to cancel it, you can use that sequence number. The other thing that I will put in here, I'm going to swap out the cancel requested bit, and I'm going to attempt to read, to take a little squint at that message before it gets delivered. So with the client, I'm going to create a receiver for that same queue name. So rather than a processor, which this is the receiver is the one where we can do this kind of interactively, we just receive one message at a time. What we can do with that is peek for a message. And so what this will do is it'll say, hey, can I have a look at the message at the front of the queue? I don't lock it. I'm not going to process it. I just need to see it. And so this isn't really a receive operation. This is just a, give me a copy. But in no way am I going to expect you to kind of take it off the front of the queue for me. So you've got two options when you peek. You can either peek a particular sequence number if you have the sequence number. We do, but I'm not going to do that right now because we don't really need to. Or you can just peek to get a message. So I can say var peeked message equals await receiver peek message. And so what this will do is if there's a message at the front of the queue right now, it'll give me a copy of that message. And I can say if peeked message does not equal null, console right line peeked a message that says, actually what I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to grab this same console that we write out down here. I'll put that up here and I will say, rather than receive process message, I'm going to say peeked message, but I'll put the same basic stuff out there. And then here, this is peeked message here. Else, console.writeLine peeked for a message, but nothing was there. Cool. So if I run this now, I'll show you two eventualities. So number one, we sent the message. I'll hit return, so we'll do the peek. And what we see here is that I've actually peeked the message that was scheduled. I personally feel like this is not good behavior from the service bus. I don't think it should give me this peeked message because it isn't active at the front of the queue. It will be in the future. The other thing I don't like about this is there's when you get this behavior, which I don't necessarily think you should, but there isn't actually any way of telling whether this message is scheduled or active at the front of the queue. There's no way of seeing that status. And in fact, it sets the in-queue time to be the time that you peeked it, which isn't true. It's not the time I actually sent it. It's not the time it's going to be delivered. It's just the time that you've peeked that message. I think if they are going to give me the message, it should give me the scheduled in-queue time. That would let me know that because that's in the future, this is probably a scheduled message on the front of a queue. This behavior only actually happens with queues. It doesn't happen with subscriptions. So I thought I would show that here. So you can, if you peek a queue and there are scheduled messages in there, you'll get the scheduled messages there at the front of the queue. The other thing I'll show is if you try and peek once it gets delivered. So we'll wait for that to be delivered. It's just 10 seconds. And then try and peek. There'll be nothing there, right? So you won't see anything. So now what I'll quickly do is I'm going to change this over to be a topic and subscription. and then I'll publish to the topic. And then I'll put the cancellation stuff back in, and we'll comment out the peaking stuff for now. I will actually put in the topic description there, just so it's ready for when we come back to that. So what I'll do now is I'll run this, and this should schedule a message for 10 seconds time. I'm going to make it slightly longer, make it 15 seconds time at the front of a topic, and our topic is called demo topic. And then what I'll do is I'll quickly jump to the portal, and I'll go look up that topic, demo topic. This has subscriptions on it. It has one right now, demo topic sub 1. This is the one that we're gonna subscribe to in our application. If I click on this here, this also has a place where it can show you scheduled messages, but I'll show you something. We'll have a look and see where that works. So we've scheduled something for the topic. If I now jump over to here and hit refresh, we don't actually see the scheduled message on that subscription at all, like we did with queues. So when you schedule something for a queue, you will see that scheduled message count go up for the queue. When you schedule something on a topic, you do not see the scheduled message count go up. So if I actually this is where I try to cancel it. So you do get an exception because cancelling the message after it's been delivered throws an exception. But if I just comment that line out for a second and then run this, and then I'll end the program, then what we'll see is there's no scheduled message at all. What we'll have now, there's no subscriber, we should see that message arrive active straight away, basically. There you go. So it didn't show up in the subscription at all, that it was there to be kind of scheduled or scheduled for the same way it does in a queue. It only arrives in the subscription once it becomes active on the topic. So there's a little bit of behavior and difference between queues and subscriptions, the way they work there. And if you try and peak the subscription before that message has become active, because it isn't there as a scheduled message, you won't get it back from the peak either. The peak is only a problem for queues. And so I think that's kind of a complete demo there. So we've got sending a scheduled message is actually pretty easy. It's the same as sending a message, but you have to tell it when you want it to get in queued to the topic or to the subscription, or topic or to the queue, sorry. When you do it with a queue, it'll show up as a scheduled message ahead of time in that queue, like you'll better see it in the portal. When you do it with a topic, you won't see it on subscriptions as a scheduled message, but it'll get in queue, whichever way you do it, for a queue or for a topic, it will get in queued at about the time you said you asked for it to be in queued, and then it will be active. You'll be able to receive that from the front of the message broker, the front of the subscription or the queue. And if you want to cancel it before it gets delivered, you need to just use the sequence number on the sender that you sent it with, and then you won't be able to cancel that message. So hopefully you found that video useful. If you did, I appreciate you hitting like on the video, hit subscribe. You can turn on post notifications so you can get notified when I post more videos. I'll be doing more about Service Bus and event hubs and event-driven systems in general. And if you want to hit me up on any of these links, feel free. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.